Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey friends, it's Jory Rose. Thank you so much for tuning into my podcast today. And I was just curious, have you had a chance to visit joryrose.com for the amazing upcoming retreats I have this fall? Don't miss out. Spots are limited. I can't wait to journey forward with you. Enjoy this next episode. Hi, welcome back to Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I am so looking forward to the conversation today with Tonya Dalton, who has just written a book that I've been reading and thoroughly enjoying called The Joy of Missing Out. And she's going to be here to tell us all about not only what this means to live more by doing less, but how to create more organization in your life. And so Tonya, welcome so much to the show. Thank you so much for coming on and spending some time with us today.
Yes, thanks so much for having me.
You are very welcome. So please tell our listeners about yourself and how did you get into the work that you're doing?
Yes, I love this question because it's been quite a journey that I've been on.
Hence the journey forward, right? We're never on a straight line, and as long as there's some forward movement, we're on the right path.
That's exactly right. So I like to tell people that, really a lot of my story begins in about 2008 when I had decided I was a stay-at-home mom. I used to be a teacher. I had kids. And I decided I was going to start a side business just for fun while my husband was traveling so much because he would be gone for 3 or 4 weeks at a time, traveling the world doing marketing for Fortune 500 companies. And I was like, I got to have something else other than just parenting. And so I started a business that I was just really selling to friends, maybe friends of friends. It was really just a hobby more than anything else. And I had a conversation with my husband one day when he was on the other side of the planet. And I was telling him all the things that kids were doing and all the exciting things that Kate was saying because she was just starting to talk and everything else. And he said, I'm missing everything. And I said, oh, you're not. And he said, no, I really am. I'm missing the milestones. I'm missing the moments. I'm missing being the hands-on dad that I really want to be. And I tried to put his fears at ease, but I hung up the phone that day and I literally stood in my kitchen. And that's the day that my path really began as I see it now, where I decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to grow this business, this little teeny tiny business that, I'm selling to friends of friends at the very most. I'm going to grow this to the point where he can come work alongside of me. I'm going to be able to make enough money that he can quit, working in corporate America, leave that behind and come and work alongside of me. Now, I have no business experience, no degree in business, never even took a course in college. And yet I set that goal for myself. So I sat down that night, mapped out how I was going to make that work. Because I'm still a stay-at-home mom with 2 small kids and a husband who travels for 3 or 4 weeks at a time. But within about a year, I was able to make that goal come true. And I was able to have him. Thank you.
And I just want to pause for 1 second on the story because I think what you're describing is something so many people experience, whether it's the moms or the dads who feel like they're missing out on the whole purpose why we're doing what we're doing, which is our kids and being connected to our family. And I love that you recognized his fears and didn't just push it aside. So I think it's so easy to be like, well, yeah, but you still got to go to work, right?
Yeah, we still need a paycheck.
Right. And not everyone is going to have the ability with such ease to, figure out that entrepreneurship. But I love that you really honored what he was experiencing and said, I need to make a change about this because and I want to highlight this part so much because that's something I see so many people getting stuck around of this hamster wheel of the same thing isn't working in my life, whatever it is. And yet they just keep plugging along doing the same thing that's still not working.
Yeah. And they're just like, well, this is just how life is. There's no choice.
Life. Right.
This is just life.
This is just the way it is. And that just speaks so much to my passion because it doesn't have to be that way. Just because that's where you landed or, landed doesn't mean that's you have to stick there.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I feel like, we do sometimes feel like, gosh, there's no other choice here, but there's always a choice. And that's really one of the underlining themes of my book is this whole idea that you do have choices. You have ownership over your calendar. You have ownership over your choices, over your life. And it's really just stepping outside of yourself to see that maybe this wasn't the journey I thought I would be on, but this is still part of the path, right? Because if you had told me, when I first had my kids that I was going to grow a business and do all of that, I would have been like, you're crazy. I don't even know what I'm doing there, right?
Or that old story, I know you talk about it in your book, and that's something I talk a lot about with my clients and in my work. It's our story. That's not who I am. That's not what I do.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And then we stay stuck in that old belief system, and then when we just stay stuck, period.
Yeah. And we literally stay on that path, even though we're not happy with it. Right.
Yes.
And we can blaze our own trail.
Forward is about like that moment of recognition of something in my life isn't working. I got to find the tools to make the change. So I apologize for interrupting
it's okay.
your story with it, but I just really wanted to highlight the courage it took to not only really hear your husband and honor what he was experiencing, but then take action.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're going to see in a second in this story.
Right.
Things are going to shift again.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to pause on that first piece. Okay. So go ahead.
No, I love it. I love it. So I was able to have him come work alongside of me. And so he was able to be more hands-on. He was more fulfilled. He was happier. It allowed us to move our family to where we really wanted to live, which was Asheville, North Carolina. So we were able to really do that.
Where were you before?
I was in Dallas, Texas before. And we just wanted to move somewhere where we could be outside more often, not quite so hot, fewer people, less concrete, a little bit less of everything. So we could be a little more focused on family. So we moved to Asheville, and about a year after we moved to Asheville, I looked at my husband and I said, I love you. I love working with you, but I don't love what we're creating. I don't love what I'm putting forth into the world. I don't feel like this is really what I am meant to do. So
what you were putting out at that time, what was that business you had created?
So I was creating jewelry and I was selling it wholesale. It was very niche. I was selling, when I started this hobby was because I was a new mom and people would ask me for pictures of my kids and I never had any pictures because let's be honest, I was lucky I had showered that day, right? And made it out of the house. And it was before we had smartphones. So I wanted a way to have pictures of my kids. So I started embedding pictures of my children and then other people's children into sterling silver jewelry. And it became heirloom quality jewelry pieces to be passed down. And I started working with photographers. I was doing it wholesale. So, it was something that I had started for a reason, but then it really didn't fulfill me, like creating this jewelry. And so, I said to my husband, this doesn't feel like this is what I'm really meant to do. It just doesn't fill my soul. The way I want it to, and backing up.
Your first goal of getting him out of corporate America, but you left you wanting more.
So it ticked that box, but it didn't tick the box of, this is fulfilling to me. It was paying our bills. It was feeding our children. It was doing all the things that a job is supposed to do, a successful job is supposed to do, but it wasn't filling me up. It wasn't making me feel good. And having been a former teacher, it's this idea of the whole reason for my being is to help people and to impact them in a positive way. So my husband said to me, he goes, okay, well, what is it you want to do? And I'm like, I have no idea. Oh my gosh, what if there's nothing out there? Like this whole moment of panic of, okay, well, I can't possibly close this business because it is paying our bills when I don't know what else it is that I want to do. Sure. So I made the decision, he and I together. This is when he really bought into me and the way that I was feeling, right? He says to me, okay, let's give you the space to really dive into what you are passionate about. What is your purpose? And so that's what I did. I gave myself some space to really dive into this idea. And I started asking myself questions. And I started to do these exercises that I was creating for myself to dive into what am I truly passionate about? What really drives me and gets me excited? What lights my soul up
inside? Yeah.
Yeah. And because I think people undervalue that. Let's do the things that really get us fired up. So when we can enter into our day or our work week with the things that fire us up, I know for me, it doesn't feel like work. Yeah, I think it's so true. It's so much easier to put your feet on the floor on Monday morning when you're ready and excited about where you're going. It makes a huge difference.
Huge. And I think just the quality of your life and what you're, expending your energy towards.
Yes, absolutely. So I had to sit down and I had to figure out what is it? What is it that I want to do? And so through doing these exercises, I started looking for patterns. I started looking for things that were occurring again and again throughout my life that was really filling me up. And I found that there were really three things, three very unrelated feeling things. So first of all, I love teaching. Really, once a teacher, always finding myself teaching, even in moments where I didn't think I was going to be. I was really passionate about empowering women. I was doing a lot of small business consulting, helping other women grow their businesses the way I had grown mine. And then really productivity, because that's what allowed me to grow that teeny tiny small business to the point where my husband could work with me. So I was finding too that a lot of these women that I was talking with or consulting weren't doing things the way that I was doing that was so much easier, so I could spend time with my family while still growing a business.
Right.
So I have these three very unconnected, unrelated things. And so I had to create Inkwell Press, which is my company, to be the thread that connected them. A company focused on empowering women through productivity and trainings to really help them live their best life, through productivity, which I like to define as not doing more, but doing what's most important.
Right.
And so closed up the old business. We went without income for several months, tightened up our belts, scraped all those pennies together, launched the business.
Which again took a ton of courage.
Oh my gosh, it was a huge risk. I mean, about a week before we launched the new business, I looked at my husband and I said, this is either going to be amazing or we're going to be living in our car under a bridge.
Yeah.
And I kind of laughed at the time, but I didn't think it was funny. I thought it was very true. But I knew how passionate and excited I got when I connected those things together and I created Inkwell Press. It was like, oh, this is it. This is what I am meant to do. And so I think because I was so passionate about it, that's really what allowed me to make that leap. It was a calculated leap. It wasn't just me jumping off a cliff blind. It was really this idea of, I know this is what I want to do. Let's save up some money so we can go without income, kind of a thing. But so we launched.
I love that too. And I can really relate to that when I first started building my business. And at the time I was still married, and my husband at the time would often, ask me all these very direct business related questions. And luckily I didn't need it to, support the whole family. And I was building it, to kind of plant the stages for myself in the future. But I really had this sense of, if I'm building this from my heart and from my passion and from my intentions, it's going to grow. Like, I just believed that.
Yes.
And from
true.
like the black and white minded businessman, it was like, that's bullshit. You need a business plan. You need this. And yes, you do. And
yes, you do. You need to, I mean, again, it's not just jumping off a cliff with your eyes shut, tight.
No.
It really is, okay, I know I want to make this leap. What do I need to do to make this happen? Because I do have to still feed my kids, right? They still like to eat 3 meals a day.
Yes.
I don't know why, but they do insist on that. So it's this idea of a calculated risk of really going into it with eyes open and looking fear in the face. Being courageous is not the absence of fear. It's seeing the fear and stepping past it and moving forward with it, right? And so I think because I really did take the time to align what I wanted to create with what I was passionate about, that really helped drive me forward. And it drove our business forward. It grew. I mean, it was, within 18 months, we were a 7-figure business. And it was my husband, me, and one other employee. So you don't have to be big. You don't have to be crazy large to be able to make these things happen. It really is a lot of times really making sure that what you're doing is aligned all together with what I call your North Star, your mission, your vision, your core values, the core of who you are. And so we launched the business. That went great. Then we were in, we were selling online, but also at Office Depot, Office Max stores.
So what exactly were you selling at that time?
Where?
What exactly was it that you were selling?
So when we first launched, we really had one main product, which was our weekly planner. So it was a productivity tool, and then it had, and it still does, all of our planners still come with this, videos that walk you alongside of it. So there's a very strong piece of that teaching in there, because that was a big part of what I was passionate about. So every planner basically came with me coaching you through not how to use the planner, but how do you prioritize? How are you spending your time? How are you really leaning into your purpose? Those kinds of things. So it always had that component in it. And then once the product started to take off, then we started having, goal setting planners and daily planners and kind of getting more of those different products out there. Then I started my podcast, which was really leaning into that whole idea of teaching and empowering women even more, even further.
What's the name of your podcast?
My podcast is Productivity Paradox. And it's been fabulous, because really it's one of those things where it really does lean into that gift of mine of teaching that I love to do every single week.
Which seems to be at the root of all your work. You're going back to that original passion.
Yes. And that's the thing is that's my filter for everything I do. Does it fit this mission, the vision, the core values of what I truly want. And if it doesn't, it's no. It's a no. It's easier to say no. And
it's a clear no. Yeah, you're able to discern that much faster.
Yeah, because so many opportunities will come, and you have to be okay with letting some of them pass by because they're not the right opportunity for you. And that's okay. That way, when the opportunities that are aligned with you and aligned with that path, that journey you want to be on, that's when you can say, not just yes, but hell yes, and pour yourself more fully into them. If I'm saying yes to everything else, I don't have the time or the energy or the focus to really pour into the things that are going to drive me forward.
Well, and it's about that discernment. And, one of the things that I find with, especially the women I work with, is they just don't know what that alignment looks like for them. Mm-hmm. It's hard to even figure that part out. And, that's usually half the battle. Of once you figure out where you are when you're in alignment, that's when things start to fall in place.
Yes, it's so true. And you can use that as your guide. I like to say that your North Star, so it's your mission, which is why you do what you do, not just what you do, but why do you do it? What's that fire inside of you? Your vision, which is where you want to go with the business, with your life, where is it you want to go? And your core values, which tell you how you're going to get there. Yes. Right? And all three of those work really well together.
Yeah.
Yes. It makes a huge difference. It feels good, the work I'm doing because it's all aligned with that. Yep. So the podcast was an extension of that idea of teaching, empowering women, giving them more of those tools to really be able to apply things into their own life. And then once the podcast was going, I had a publisher reach out to me and say they wanted me to write a book. And then literally 3 weeks later, I had another publisher reach out and say, we want you to write a book. And I was like, okay, writing a book is something I've wanted to do since I was 12 years old. This is obviously the time for this to happen because,
universe, I'm listening, right?
The universe, yeah, you have to say, okay, universe, I got you. I hear you. I just need to take care of a few things, but I'm going to do that. And that's what I did. So I really kind of paid attention. I listened and I looked for the signs. And the question there again is, does this fit and align with where I'm anticipating I want to go? And the answer there for me was absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it was a clear extension of what you were already doing and teaching.
Yes, all completely aligned. And so then I sat down, wrote the book, worked on the book, poured myself into it, loved every minute of writing that book. And then the book came out in October and has been amazing because it's been so incredible to be able to reach even more women, because that's really my goal. It's really about impacting the lives of women to see their choices, to understand how you make this happen. It's not just like inspiration. I want people to say, oh, this is how I make that work. This is how I create that life for myself. So it's been really gratifying to see a culmination of all of this along my journey coming forth through this book.
I love it. Yeah, the book is The Joy of Missing Out. And, the image on the cover is something I think so many women can relate to.
Yes.
This woman sitting on her kitchen counter with one hand in her lunch. She's got like 7 hands, one hand in a lunchbox, looks like on, one hand on the laptop, pouring coffee, cooking dinner, handing out permission slip forms. Like, women, we have to juggle it all.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
It constantly feel so, and you talk about this a lot in the beginning of the book, of that sense of being overwhelmed.
Yes.
And, this is something, again, with myself, with my clients, I work mainly with women, we are constantly feeling stretched.
Yes.
There's never enough of us to go around. And the thing is, life is not going to stop one day. Life is not going to slow down.
It's not unless you actively carve out that space. That's why I like to tell people is that, you saying, I don't have time to do whatever it is you want to do, that time is not going to magically appear. That time has to actively, intentionally be carved out by you to make it happen. Because we're playing 1,000 different roles. And so in the pursuit of doing all of this and doing it all really, really well and looking incredible while we're doing it for Instagram, right? We're wearing ourselves out, and then we're not able to pour ourselves fully into the areas of our life that we truly want to do. In fact, I like to say that if we are not busy, we feel like we're somehow failing, that we are supposed to be busy. Have you ever had that where you have like 5 minutes, 10 minutes where you don't have anything going on and you're like, oh, something's wrong. This can't be right. There's no way I have 5-10 minutes to myself.
Well, and then if we actually take 5 or 10 minutes, the next thing that can often come up for us is feeling guilty. Oh, I can't take this 5 to 10 minutes. I should be doing another little laundry, getting dinner started, emptying the dishwasher, helping the kids with the homework. God forbid we should just sit and be.
Yeah, just breathe. I think this is the thing is we feel like we're supposed to be putting forth effort all the time. We're supposed to be exhaling. We forget that we need to inhale in order to truly exhale. We need the in breath so we can have that out breath, and we undervalue that. We don't think twice about taking a break when we're working out. We don't think twice about that at all. Yet we feel like we can push ourselves and our brains to the just absolute limits of what's possible. So it really is this idea of how do we carve out that time and that space for ourselves? How do we make that really work? And that's really what I wanted to dive into with the book is actual action steps to make that happen.
Yeah. And, as I was reading it, it just is, it's written in such a way, like I just kept nodding my head. Yes, yes.
I love it.
So, it's really one of those things that for women, part of it is those, you talk a lot about, and this is something that, again, I talk a lot about as well, is our old stories and our old beliefs, and we continue to operate from those. And I think this is a really powerful one that I wanted to make sure to mention, is so many women who are moms, whether you're working or stay at home, have a belief system around, quote, what a good mom does.
Yes.
And this is something that keeps us really stuck and really limited. And the thing is with our thoughts and these belief systems, we don't often check in with ourselves at any future time to say, does this still apply to me? Do I still believe that? Was just that how I was raised, or what my mom did, or what culturally I was expected to do?
Yes, absolutely. I think too, one of the other things we deal with as moms is we struggle with the guilt when we don't feel like being a mom is not the end all be all fulfilling thing. That doesn't make you a bad mom. It can make you a very good mom to have outside interests outside of your children, but we feel like we are supposed to be fulfilled by being mothers. Like that's what's portrayed to us in society, in history, that we're supposed to be fulfilled by this idea. And when we're not, we feel terrible about it. And we feel guilty for going after something that we do want. When in fact, I like to remind people that when you're going after the things you're passionate about, when you're choosing your path, when you're actively making choices, you are role modeling for your daughter what a woman is capable of.
And I love that you brought that point up.
The other thing, though, is that we are role modeling for our sons what a woman is capable of.
Yes.
We are making waves and making changes for the future, for the men and the women in the future to know what women can do, and that it's okay to do things that are outside of your role of mother.
I love this point. And this is, I look back to my own childhood, and my mom was an amazing stay-at-home mom. She put all of our needs always at the forefront, but to the detriment of herself.
Yes.
So
mine too.
As a child, it really served me, and I valued and appreciated that. As an adult, I'm like, I don't want to be that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's so true. My mom was the same way, where she was every day we got off the bus and she greeted us with some kind of baked good, like cookies or brownies or something like that. And so that was part of a story that I told myself, that a good mom has to volunteer nonstop at the school because that's what my mom did. Or a good mom has to have cookies, fresh baked cookies when their kids get off the bus. Yes. And here's the thing, that worked for my mom. That was fulfilling for her.
And that was also generational too.
Very generational. But you know what? And there are women today who are fulfilled by being stay-at-home moms. And I think that's wonderful. We all have different things we want to do, but it's also okay if that does not fulfill you, if that is not really what works for you. And the problem with these stories is they're written in these absolutes of a good mom always, or a good mom never. A good mom never yells at their kids. Bullshit. A good mom yells at their kids from time to time. Yeah, because here's the truth. If we're not blowing our top every now and then, our kids are probably thinking like, gosh, I guess when you grow up, you never get upset. You never get angry. You never, it's good for them to see that we have emotions. Oh, yes. It's good to see that we have something outside of them. I think that we, in our guilt, we gloss over that and we forget how beneficial it is and how much it really, benefits our kids to become independent autonomous adults to see us doing that ourselves.
Well, and you talk about, that passion of being a teacher. We're constantly teaching our kids.
Yes.
By, through role modeling. We're constantly in that space. And it's so powerful. I once saw a meme, and it was like the kid always on the cell phone or something. And it was like, I learned it from watching you. It's like, we forget that they're watching and learning from absolutely every part of our day and our experience.
Yes.
And, I really grappled with that question of a good mom always or never or sometimes. And after my divorce years ago, and I really delved into my mindfulness practice, and I started going on retreats, which meant I had to leave my kids, and I would travel for these retreats, and sometimes internationally. And I remember one day my daughter and I were doing like a mother-daughter journal at night, and it was describe your mother in a certain number of words. And the word that she used to describe me was adventurous.
Oh.
And I was like, oh my God, that's huge. That's how she sees me.
It's amazing too. I think when you step outside of yourself. Yeah.
That success of, she hates it when I leave. She used to hide my keys when I would go out with a girlfriend at night. She would say to me, Mama stay, instead of namaste, Mama stay. So she hated when I would leave. At 14, she still does. And one of the first things she said to describe me was I was adventurous.
Mm-hmm. And when we step out of our own way, sometimes we see ourselves through someone else's eyes, and we're like, oh, look what I'm teaching her, right?
It's amazing.
Yeah, so powerful.
To empower us to challenge our belief systems about those always or never statements, whether it's around motherhood or relationships or career, right? I mean, look at how you challenged it with the traditional paradigm of what it meant to have a career and make money when your husband was traveling and missing out.
Yes, absolutely.
So what are some of the things in the book that you really want to tell the readers and can give some insight to our audience around how to begin to discern, how do I actually change what the hours in my day look like? Because as you say, we all have the same number of hours in our day. And so what are some good tangible tools that we can take away as, ways to start implementing some of these practices?
Yeah. Well, one of the first things I like to tell people is you got to throw out your to-do list, which is always a moment where people are like, what? Because we love our to-do list. We love crossing things off our to-do list. But our to-do list is taking us everywhere but where we really want to go. It's too long. It's unorganized. Yeah.
You made this point in the book that I laughed out loud, literally, when I was reading of, do any of you write stuff down just to cross it off to feel accomplished? It's like, yep, I do that.
Yep. So then your to-do list is a mood enhancer, not really a list of what you need to accomplish, right?
Yes.
So I like to tell people, instead of doing a to-do list, make a priority list. So a priority list is essentially a to-do list with intention. So instead of just, jotting things down, tacking them on at the bottom, sitting down each day and prioritizing, what do I want to accomplish today? What's truly important? And I think that's one of the things that people really get confused about, important versus urgent. We feel like anything that is urgent has to be important. But here's the thing. Things that are important are connected to that North Star, like we talked about, that mission, the vision, the core values. They're aligned with your path. They are linked to your goals. They're things that absolutely must be done by you, cannot be delegated to someone else, or can't be taken off the list altogether, right?
Right.
And they're advantageous. They're an investment in yourself. Things that are urgent are just tied to time. That's the only thing that defines something as urgent. So we have to stop treating all the urgent things as the most important part of our day. Just because they're screaming out at us, just because they're binging and pipping and, squealing out at us, doesn't mean we have to tackle those first. So if we create a priority list, we basically take our list and divide it into 3 sections. And we work our day from the very top with our top priorities, our escalate tasks, which are tasks that are important. So they're connected to our North Star, they're linked to our goals, they're essential, they're advantageous, and they're urgent. So they're things that have to be done right away, but they are important. And then our next section of our list is our cultivate tasks. So these are things that are important, driving us to those goals, connected to that North Star, but they're not urgent. They don't have a timeline attached to them. So oftentimes these things get pushed aside, even though it's a great investment in ourselves, whether that's sitting down and creating a budget for your family, or creating a marketing plan for the next quarter, or investing in a course for yourself, reading a journal or a book that's related to your career. All of those things are things that are important, but they get pushed aside because they're not deadline focused.
Yep.
So that's our second category. We started at the top with escalate, then we have cultivate, and then that last category is accommodate. Now, these are tasks that are urgent, but they're not really important. We still want to get them done, but they're not really connected to that North Star or linked to our goals. They're not investments in ourselves. But what happens is when we have a to-do list, a lot of times those things, because they're easy to check off, they get crossed off first. And we're doing 50,000 of those, and yet we're not feeling like we're accomplishing anything because they're not truly important.
Yeah.
Instead, let's do them either at the end of our day, or let's accommodate them in our schedule, but let's not revolve our day around them. And just simply by making that small change of doing a priority list rather than a to-do list can make a really big difference. I like to say in the book, it's a series of small, huge movements. They're simple to implement, easy to manage, yet monumental in the impact they can make on your day. And that's what we're really looking for. Small things that make a giant impact and really get you towards that life you truly want.
I love that. And one of the things that you talk about and is so important to recognize to be able to even get to this point is that idea of we are not designed to multitask. And women
absolutely
especially, I was just saying last night to my fiance how it appears to me women are wired to see the world with like a really huge peripheral lens. Like we just have to keep everyone's schedules, needs, what we're doing for dinner, breakfast, lunch for the next couple of days, assuming we're the, person who's doing the cooking and the shopping. But, we tend to think about everyone and everything all at the same exact moment.
Yes. It's so true. And our brains are not designed to multitask.
And yet, we glorify how much we can get done at once. And yet when we're doing that, we're not actually present with any which one of it. And with my passion and my focus as being mindful, we could technically think we're doing all these things at once, but how much are you actually present with any one of them?
Right. It's not about managing our time. It's savoring the moments, right?
And you're just going through those motions to get it done. And a lot of times, maybe that's just even going through the motions of your kids that you haven't even slowed down to look them in the eye that day, or to give them an intentional hug, or even ask them what they, did at school and actually sat and listened in a present way. It's huge.
We're so busy checking off those boxes that we're not really being fully present. It's not about the quantity. It's not about the number of things you get accomplished. It's the quality. And here's the thing we talk about, in the book, I talk about that study from the University of London that found that when you multitask, you actually decrease your productivity 40%. That the work you create is equal to someone who skipped a night of sleep or smoked marijuana.
And so that's huge,
right? Like that's crazy. We think that we're doing more. We think we're getting more accomplished, but you're not. It's taking you longer to do it, and you're doing lower quality work. So we have to stop this idea that we are supposed to be multitasking, or that we have to fill everything up.
And we use, I think the biggest thing is our phones as our distraction. And, we're constantly checking our email. We're constantly checking our social media. And what I like to remind my clients is you can use the sound of a text or an email, whatever sound that makes, as a reminder to be present. Just because the sound went off, it's not mission impossible. It's not going to implode if you don't check it within the first 3 seconds. Allow it to just be a sound.
Yeah. And allow that to be a time for you to take one deep breath and hold it for 10 seconds and release it before you even check it, right?
Yeah.
Like allow that to be a little cue for you.
Yes.
Stop.
Let your distractions become your practice.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
Yeah. Well, I love the work that you're doing. I know just in having the language to put to the frustration so much of us experience and setting out a framework to be able to step into is huge to be able to make those shifts in our lives.
Yeah, really, that's part of it too. And one of the things I love that I'm hearing from women is they're like, I feel like you're listening in my living room. Or how did you know I was thinking this in my head? And I'm like, oh, honey, we're all been thinking this in our heads, right? Like we're all beating ourselves up for the things that we're doing. We're all, questioning whether we're good enough. We're all questioning, is this perfect? Should, all of those things. And so a lot of women have said, I feel like it's like the permission slip I've always needed to let things go. And I'm like, if that's what you need, grasp it. This is absolutely the entire purpose of this, is to realize, first of all, that you are not alone in the way that you feel. And let's really create a life for you that feels good. Let's customize this so every day feels really, really happy and joyful. Let's slip into bed at night and think to ourselves, you know what? Today was a good day. That's really what it's ultimately about.
And it goes back to the title of the book, The Joy of Missing Out, because I think we are so stuck in that fear of missing out that we're just rushing through our day, not being joyful, not being connected, not being present, not feeling deeply, connected to our loved ones, because we're just so busy going through the motions.
It's so true. It really is, because I do believe there's happiness and joy already there, hidden in our days. But because we're so busy, because of the hecticness of our everyday lives, we don't see it. So let's choose to miss out on being busy. Let's choose to say yes to the things that are fulfilling and to say no to the things that aren't, so we can find that joy, because it, I promise you, is already there.
It's there. It's one of the reasons why I love leading women's retreats, and I intentionally do my retreats. They're just 3 nights, but I intentionally do them on a Sunday through Wednesday. It would be really easy to do it over the whole weekend, but I want women to make the conscious choice to step out of their day-to-day tasks and responsibilities and put themselves first.
Oh, I love that. I love that intentionality. Yeah.
It's so intentional to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to have to ask for help from other people, from my partner, from friends, from grandparents. I'm going to have to maybe miss out on something that my kid is doing, that sporting event or that, project they're working on. And I'm going to say that's okay, because if I can create the space for me, then I can come back more fully present when I return, because I've taken care of myself.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's about setting that intention. And, so this joy of missing out is such a rewiring from the habitual fear of missing out. And ironically, we fear of missing out on so much, we're actually missing out on our life, right?
We're missing out on our own life. We're missing out on our own happiness because of it. Yes. Yeah. We're spreading ourselves so thin.
There's a lot of irony in that fear. It's like, well, wait a second. We slow down and really observe what's actually happening.
Exactly. Yes.
Oh, well, Tonya, I have really, really loved talking with you more. And I know that the listeners have probably gotten so much out of this, because it's just that ubiquitous, yes, you're hearing me, you get it, you understand what I'm going through. And it's just putting language to what we're all experiencing and saying, yes, this is normal for you to experience this hurriedness through life, and it doesn't have to be that way. And here are some tools you can slow down, be more present, be more productive, find that joy, get out of the rat race, and find the joy that you, like you said, it's there. You just got to uncover it.
We just got to grasp it. We really do, because it is there.
So how can people find you if they want to learn more about the book or the programs that you offer, or find more of your products?
Yeah, so the best way to find me is at TonyaDalton.com. So that's Tonya with an O and a Y. You can find links to my podcast there, links to my products. I have videos, and of course the book you can find there as well. You could also go to joyofmissingout.com to find all the links, but the book is sold pretty much anywhere where you can buy books. Target, it's at Walmart, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, so all those different places.
I have to say, we're connected on Facebook, as we met last year, or I guess earlier. Last year. And, that's such huge joy. I remember you posted, I seen the book at Target, where it's like, I made it.
It's amazing. Yeah, it really is. And I think that's the thing, is when you figure out what it is you want to do, the path starts to show up for you, and that journey is there. So,
well, I'm setting my intentions. My book is going to be on the Target shelves one day as well.
I love it. I love it.
Setting intentions, taking actions, and I will use the step in your books to help me unfold the path of creating the time to write that. It's all in my head. It just has to get onto paper.
Yes, yes. Well, that's the whole thing is it's the domino effect. We help each other out, right? We lift each other up, we encourage, we support, we push each other when we need that pushing. And it continues to grow and impact more and more people. So
I love it.
Yes, I love it.
Tonya, thank you so much for coming on today. And obviously those links that you mentioned will be in the show notes, and everyone go out and grab a copy of The Joy of Missing Out. You will appreciate it. So thank you so much, Tonya. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat. Visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.